Okay, in this exercise we talk about UV mapping. And UV mapping is a way of putting images onto objects in very specific ways. For example, if you're doing a box and you want each side of the box to have a different image on it, this would be the way to do it. This is excellent for making product boxes and other things like that, cans. And today we're going to talk about spheres. Spheres are relatively easy, and that's why we're going to start with them. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a globe. So if we go into the Create tab, we're going to create a simple ball. And if I pull the ball out like so, there is a simple ball. And if I hit the N key, you see I can control the size of the ball. So I'm going to make all the radii 3. And there we are. I'm also going to put all of the coordinates to 0. So the ball is in the center of the stage. And I'm going to increase the sides and the segments so I get a nice smooth ball. Then in the Polygon mode, I'm going to select all those polygons and I'm going to change surface, and I'm going to call this planet. And I'm also going to add a new feature. If we go down here to this area down here, we're going to hit the T button for texture, and we're going to make a new texture map. And this is going to be Earth. And we're going to make it a spherical map. And I'm going to create it, and notice it tells you here that something was created. And I'm going to save this object. I'm going to call it Planet. And I'm going to send it to Layout. And there it is. So then in the surface editor here, I'm going to give that a map. So if I hit texture there, and instead of doing all these ones that we've done before, we're going to go all the way down to UV. And the UV map, there's only one available, is going to be Earth. And now we load an image. Now this is where it gets fun. If you go to Load Image, you can see that there's all kinds of images available to you on the internet that allow you to do this. We have pictures of planets all stretched out that they can wrap onto a sphere. So we're going to take this one, Earth 2, and there it is. And so that's a perfect map. It's wrapped around the sphere. I'm going to use the texture. I'm also going to turn on smoothing, and there you go. And so just to show you, if you go all the way here to 120 and you rotate the Earth, let's say we rotate it like that, as you scroll through it, you get a nice rotating planet. And let's say hypothetically that we were interested in a different planet. We could simply go in here, and instead of the Earth, well, leave that alone, and instead of that image we can load a different image, and let's say we loaded Jupiter instead, and there's Jupiter. And let's look at something else here. Let's say we stick with Jupiter for a minute. We want to give Jupiter a actual realistic texture instead of just a wallpaper texture. Let's say we go to our bump map, and I hit the texture there, and I go to the UV, and nice thing about this is they're already established. I select Earth, and I select the Jupiter, and I'm just going to give this a little bit of texture amplitude, not even all that much, and I'm going to give it a little bit of a bump, not even all that much, and let's see what the camera would see. And you can see how this looks with the nice details there. It looks very realistic. And one other thing. Let's say we go back here for a minute, and let's say we select all these polygons, and we edit copy, and we edit paste. Let's say we put the original one in the background, and I want to size this up a little bit so that this sphere is above the other one, And I'm going to select all of these polygons. I'm going to make that a new surface. I'm going to call that clouds. Deselect all this. And if I'm in layout now, I see we have a second layer there, a second surface. And first of all, I'm going to go back to planet here, and I'm going to change that back. I'm going to change that back to Earth, even though you can't see it yet. And for this new texture, I'm going to put in same UV map. And this one, I'm going to load this image of the clouds. So there's the clouds around the Earth. Turn on smoothing. And I'm going to bring up the transparency a little bit so you can see how that works. Notice how we get that little line there? We can mitigate that a little bit if we turn up the refraction index. And maybe turn up the luminosity some. And you can get an idea of what's possible with this. You could even try doing that as a luminosity map. And you can create the world and the clouds over it. And so that's really what we're interested in doing, is these possibilities.